because those are some of the pleasures in life. And I'm not going to give up foods that I love entirely while I'm trying to lose weight or maintain my weight. Today, I'm going to share with you my top 5 keto-friendly guilty pleasures that helped me lose 10 pounds in a 1-month period over 50 years old when nothing else worked. The hardest thing about following and sticking to a weight loss plan is when you start to think about, am I going to have to give up the foods that I love? Weight loss plans that are successful are those where we are able to stay on those plans for a long period of time. And the only way to do that is to be able to follow a plan that you feel good about and makes you feel like you can eat the foods that you like. So today I've come up with 5 different foods that I believe are most people's guilty pleasures, foods that none of us want to give up when we're on a weight loss plan. And these are 5 foods that I love and that I knew I needed to have in order to be able to stick to my plan. So I follow a keto-friendly plan, which is basically low starchy carbs, high protein, high fiber, more vegetables, and more fruit. So I am trying to reduce the amount of sugar that I'm eating, and so I had to find alternatives to the foods that I like to eat because the foods that I love to eat do tend to be higher in sugar. So my first guilty pleasure, and I believe this is one that many of you are going to relate to, is I love my coffee in the morning. Specifically, I love cafe mochas. Now, I used to go to Coffee Bean and get theirs, but I had to find an alternative because 1, I didn't want to pay $5 or $6 for a coffee, and 2, it was really easy to do. So the way I used to make it was I would mix my coffee with hot chocolate powder, which is what they do at Coffee Bean. The only problem with that is that I was consuming an extra 450 calories with 3 cups of those cafe mochas. That is huge when you are over 50 years old and your body is no longer allowing you to have as much sugar as it used to. So my alternative is I came up with a keto-friendly cafe mocha, and I did a video where I go all through that recipe for you. I'll put a card up here for you so you can watch exactly how I made that. But basically, I just lowered my hot chocolate, and now I'm to a point where I've eliminated it, and I have substituted 0 sugar chocolate caramel creamer by Coffee Mate. And I've gotten my taste buds used to that. I don't miss the old coffee, and now instead of drinking about 450 worth of calories, I am only consuming around maybe 100 per day. My second guilty pleasure is cheese. Now, luckily, cheese is a very keto-friendly food to begin with, but they also have these things called Parm crisps in the store, which is basically just cheese that's been baked to the point to where it is crispy. I'll show you what these look like. They're basically just these cheesy little crisps, and they are very similar to chips. But honestly, they were a little bit too much for me. They were kind of overly salty. And so what I've done is actually come up with another alternative, and that is where I will melt about a serving of cheese, shredded cheese, in the microwave for about 20-25 seconds. And then I can just eat it just like that. I know that seems a little weird maybe, but when I'm having a craving for cheese, I can either cut off a block of cheese or I can heat it up in the microwave if I want it warm. And it's really delicious, and usually it'll just satisfy my craving and then I can move on. And the beauty of it is that it is low carb, and so it's not spiking up my blood sugar. It's not making me crave more of it. My third guilty pleasure is, of course, potato chips or any kind of chips like Doritos, Cheetos, anything with those simple sugars in it and those delicious seasonings on it. One of the alternatives I have is I eat cashews. These are salted cashews. Nuts are very low in carbohydrates, and they have a little bit of protein as well. But the thing that you have to keep in mind is that nuts are very high in calories. So one serving in about the palm of your hand is 170 calories, which is pretty high. And my first guideline that I follow with my weight loss plan is it's always calories first, no matter what. So it doesn't matter if you're intermittent fasting, it doesn't matter if you're eating low carb. I followed all those plans, and what I found is if I do not monitor how many calories I'm eating, I won't lose weight. So I have to be careful with the keto-friendly plan because I usually won't gain weight if I stick to it, but I won't lose weight either if I don't make sure that I keep my calories down where they need to be. So because of that, I have a second alternative, which is these baconettes. Now, these are pork rinds. I had no idea that they were low carb. I was watching a video by Dr. Berg, and he was doing a what I eat in a day video, and he had pork rinds listed, and I knew that he ate very, very low carb, and I thought, don't pork rinds have carbohydrates in them? But actually, they don't. There are 0 carbs in here. They're pretty high protein, and they're mostly fat. But what I like about them is, one, they're lower in calories than the nuts. They're only 70 grams for a serving, and they do not give me the cravings that chips do. So the problem with chips and cookies and things like that is they're what I call bingeable foods, meaning you can eat a lot of those things and you will still feel like you want more. But with the pork rinds, I can have one serving and I really don't crave another serving because they're made out of protein and fat. It's the sugar in the foods that actually makes you crave more food. And let's be honest, you could eat 1,000 calories in potato chips and you may never feel full. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but you can just keep eating and eating and eating until you know that you've eaten too much. I don't have that issue when I'm eating foods high in protein, and I don't have that issue when I eat the pork rinds. Now, I love pork rinds. I had them as a child, and I've always liked them, but my kids hate them. So if you're the type of person who just doesn't like pork rinds, that's fine, just don't use them. But if you've never tried them, I would definitely give it a try as an alternative for your chips and just see if you like them. And my biggest guilty pleasure, something I could never live without, is my chocolate. So I found these Kind Bar minis the other day. My daughter was actually having my husband get them for her at the store. And I just happened to look at the label and I realized, wow, this is a great alternative for chocolate. So these have 90 calories, 7 grams of fat, 3 grams of fiber, and only 8 grams of carbohydrates, which for me, for a sweet treat, that is very low. Now, I used to keep Hershey Kisses up in the cupboard because they were small, they were portion sized, and I just love chocolate. But what I found was I would be sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden I would look up and think, I feel like having some chocolate. So I would go and I would grab one. And then I would grab another one, and then I would grab another one. And it's kind of like the same thing with the chips. Like you want to keep eating them. There's nothing that makes you feel like you want to stop. You never feel satisfied with them. But with these, what's nice is they're portion controlled. They're minis. They're not a full-size bar, so they're lower in calories. And because they are pre-packaged, I know myself, I won't eat more than one because one, they're pretty expensive for the little bar, but they're worth it for me because they save me on being tempted to eat more than I really should. So I will save these until I absolutely feel like I have to have a chocolate treat. So sometimes I'll have them once a day. Sometimes I may have one every other day. It just depends on whether I get a craving or not. The beauty of the keto-friendly diet for me has been my cravings have come down significantly when it comes to eating things like chips, cookies, chocolate, all of those carbohydrates that I'm trying to reduce, not get rid of, because I will always eat treats and snacks because those are some of the pleasures in life. And I'm not going to give up foods that I love entirely while I'm trying to lose weight or maintain my weight. So go ahead and give these a try. If you're interested in learning more about how I lost 10 pounds in 1 month's time period, over 50 years old when nothing else worked, I'm gonna go ahead and put a video right up here for you and you can go ahead and check it out. I think you're really gonna like it.